Hello everybody, this is Dr. Jeff Parker and we're going through a video series that I believe can make a big difference in your marriage called Marriage Matters. Now today we're going to be looking at this thing of preventive maintenance versus crisis intervention, because you see a lot of times when we finally get help for our marriages, we're at the point of a crisis, and a lot of times for a marriage counselor, those people that do what I do, it becomes very difficult to make up for lost time. So what kind of preventive maintenance can you and I do in our marriage, in relationships, to make our marriages what God intends them to be? And remember our passage, our verse, Psalm 127:1. Except the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain that build it. And so, with 41 years of marriage and about that same amount of time in family and marriage counseling, one of the things that you find along the way is a good, valuable tool. In this case, the tool is a book written by a man by the name of Dr. Willard Hartley. It's called His Needs, Her Needs. Now, in this book, Dr. Hartley does tens of thousands of surveys in which he identifies the 5 basic needs of a man and the 5 basic needs of a woman. Now, let me stop and ask you a question, because this is critical. Do you know the needs of your spouse? Now, think about that for a minute. Mentally, take a note of it. Do you know the needs of your spouse? If you're a woman, do you know the needs of your husband? If you're a man, do you know the needs of your wife? Now, you may say, well, wait a minute. You may have thought to yourself, why should I care? They don't care about my needs. You see, right there, that may be an indication to a major problem in you building a strong, healthy marriage. Because if that thought comes to mind, then really the honest truth is that you're focusing more on yourself than you are the person you're married to. If you want me to give you the key to a strong, healthy, vibrant marriage, it's the ability to remove yourself and to focus your life, yourself, on the needs of the person that you're married to. Now that's critical. And hey, listen, if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, the Bible says, Jesus said, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself. So it's not unusual, even Christ asked us to do that. Well, let's go back. What are the 5 basic needs, for example, of a woman? If you're a man watching this, you cannot meet needs that you're not aware of. So tens of thousands of women were surveyed. Number 1 need, affection. Number 2, intimate communication. Number 3, openness and honesty. Number 4, financial support. Number 5, family commitment. All 5 of those were polled as the top 5 needs among wives and women surveyed. Now, when Willard Hartley surveyed tens of thousands of men, he came up with these 5 basic needs. Listen to him. Number 1, sexual fulfillment. Now, that ought to stop ladies smiling, going, well, I figured that. Well, it's more than just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It's the idea of meeting the sexual needs of your husband so that there's fulfillment. Secondly, it's recreational companionship. Thirdly, an attractive spouse. 4th, domestic support. 5th, ego and admiration. Now, when I gave those 5 for women than for men, you may have looked at them and you thought to yourself, are they in order? Is that the priority? And let me tell you, it's not. For example, ladies, you'll notice that a man's number 1 need was sexual fulfillment. Number 5 was ego and admiration. But the reality is, for men, their need for ego and admiration, ladies, you admiring them, is as critical, I would say, in all my years of counseling, as sexual fulfillment. A man wants to be encouraged, built up, and thought a lot of by the woman that he's married to. Men, if you're watching this, if you listen to the first 3 needs, what are they? Affection, openness and honesty, intimate communication. They all have to do with communication, which we talked about in our last session. So if a man is going to meet the needs of his wife, It's going to require that he set aside time for affection, for intimate communication, and for that openness and honesty that she so desires. Now, Willard Hartley goes on, and he gives what I believe is an unbelievable tool. In fact, I use this when I do premarital counseling. He says that, he says, think of your spouse. If you're a man, think of your wife. If you're a wife, think of your husband. But think of their brain, their mind, like a love bank. And in their love bank is every account, an account for every relationship that they're involved in. For example, my primary account is my relationship with Jesus Christ. He's the biggest investor in my life. So I'm going to invest in that relationship because he's made the most deposits. Secondly is my wife Sheila, next month, 41 years. Now, because she's second major holder, then children, grandchildren, and down the list it goes. Listen, every day, my wife Sheila will either make deposits or she'll make withdrawals. If she looks at me and says, I just want you to know I love you. And I appreciate everything that you do. I know you work hard and I know it's not easy. And I want you to know something that it means a lot to me. You see, that ego, that admiration, to be admired by her is so critical, so important. If I take time to show her affection, if I sit down and drink a cup of coffee and kind of share my heart and listen to her as she shares hers, that intimacy, that openness, that honesty, then the reality is that I'm making deposits. I'm investing in that relationship. Now, here's the great thing about that tool. Every day, a man gets to work and he thinks, did I make deposits or did I make withdrawals? Hey, listen, this works for parenting. If you're a mom, you get back home and you think to yourself, you know, I ranted and raved and harped on the kids, and by the time they got out of school or got on the bus, you feel ashamed of yourself. You think to yourself, you know, man, I made a lot of withdrawals. And that's the danger, is we keep making withdrawals and we're not making deposits. And before long, that account of that person is moving farther and farther down in our love bank. Or we're moving down in their love bank. And that's very dangerous. So, you know, with all of that, I want to encourage you. I pray that this is helping you. And next session, we're going to look at a very, very critical point, and it is how to affair-proof your marriage. Because Willard Hartley goes on to say this. He says, listen, his needs are needs. He subtitles it, Building an Affair-Proof Marriage. And we're going to learn some things in that next session. Well, God bless you. I hope this is helping you. You take care. And I love you. If you're watching by Facebook, I want to encourage you to share it and like the page. You know, but if you're watching on YouTube, if you would, go down, subscribe and become a part of this family. And look forward to talking to you each week. You take care. And again, Christ loves you. He wants your marriage to work. And I do too. So you don't give up, okay? Don't give up. Bye-bye.